Good morning, everybody. Guess what? Kennedy spotted Jordan at the Powell post office a couple days ago. She says, "Well, Jordan's back." I said, "Well, he was at the post office trying to figure out what zip code he was in." And then, the other best thing is that white stuff coming down out there. That's a welcome back to Jordan. I got to tell you, in this time, we've been challenged in so many ways. It's a great shaking that's going on. And I want to tell you the testament is that there are young guys that come along once in a while. And they pull back and they tell their story about how they didn't want to come serve and be a preacher. And this young guy's done it. But I'm going to tell you even more is what he's impressed me, and I just so appreciate it. I'm so thankful he's back, is what a leader he's become. And I am just so thankful you're here, Jordan. Come on back.
That was nice of Robert to grab his baseball cap out of the rafter of the barn, and none of that was scripted. Thanks a lot. I'm supposed to preach after that. That completely, I don't like to admit that I'm this fragile. That kind of threw me off a little bit. It's unscripted. It's not going out online. And so I appreciate the fact that you guys are the only witnesses to whatever. But I will tell you the honest truth. I feel like that you guys have been a part of raising me and my family. This has nothing to do with the sermon. But I do remember the resentment towards just ministry in general and not understanding what God was doing bringing me up here. And like that feeling that I get when I look outside, it's snowing. I'm like, there it is. There's that feeling. But just what a blessing that you guys have been to my family, to my wife and to my kids. You guys have literally been here watching my kids growing up. And just what a blessing that it is to know that ministry doesn't have to set the pastor on fire to keep everybody else warm. And so thank you guys for that. Okay, that's not what we're doing. Matthew chapter 8. You're fired, Robert. Matthew chapter 8, verse 5. When Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him asking for help. "Lord," he said, "my servant lies at home paralyzed, suffering terribly." Jesus said to him, "Shall I come and heal him?" Do you ever get the feeling that sometimes Jesus would ask a question as a setup? He's like, "Oh, Jesus, my servant, he's suffering and he's not doing well." Jesus goes, would you have any interest in me healing him? And you kind of get the sense that everybody listening was like, we assumed that was implied. Yeah, that'd be the point. The centurion replied, "Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof, but just say the word and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority with soldiers under me. I tell this one go and he goes. I tell this one come and he comes. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it." I want to be honest, and sometimes I admit things that I think are like, I don't know if you guys know this, and I admit it, and people are like, we all knew that. And this might be one of those moments. I've had a long journey with the concept of authority in my life. Lifelong. My whole life I've struggled with authority, and it's very specific. It's not that I'm against the rules. In fact, to be honest, I'm kind of a rule follower, but I've had a frustrating journey with the concept of authority. Here's why. Because I'm a claustrophobic person. And so when it feels like somebody's in a position to limit me, I start to feel claustrophobic, and I'm like, I'm fine following the rules, but just give me some space. Anybody feel this way? I'm going to tell you this. I would have adopted the mask thing way sooner if it hadn't felt like it was being crammed down my throat. I'm just being honest. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is right. I'm just having a moment of transparency. And it's been this way my whole life since birth. I was 4 years old. This is a true story. You can ask my dad. 4 years old, we're at the cow sale. And I think my dad had just had enough of my antics because he was like, "Jordan, I can't remember how many calves we bought." Well, I know we were poor. It's not like he lost track. "How many calves I bought? Can you take a real quick trip, run to the catwalk, run down there to pin number whatever, and see me how many calves we bought?" Looking back, I think he was trying to get me out of his hair, out of his head, if you know my dad. But to me, at 4 years old, I'm like, I'm on a mission, and it's a mission for my dad, and it's important because what happens if we buy too many calves? And I know we don't have much money, so I'm at 4 years old, and I'm going down there, and I'm going to check, I'm going to count. And I'm crawling down off the catwalk, 4 years old, and the guy working the sale barn goes, "Hey, get back on the catwalk. And at 4 years old, in all of my ridiculous, arrogant nonsense, I go, if you ask me nicely. 4, I was 4. He was a grown man. What, am I gonna fight him? Fast forward, I was a preacher's kid, and so as a preacher's kid, there's words that you know to avoid. There's hot button words that are just like instantly not gonna go in your favor. And so I remember as a teenager, I'd be like, hey, Dad, picking on my dad today, but we're not recording. Dad, there's it's like a group of people, my friends, and they were gonna be in the same place at a certain time, and he's like, that smells like a party. No. It's not a party, Dad. It's not a party at all. We would not. Dad, I hope you know, I would not. It's party. Ugh, right? Parties are where babies happen. As though you walk into the party, they hand you a baby and you have to raise it. So I'm like, all right, Dad, I get it. I'm not going to go. Great. Of course I'm not going to go because it smells to you like a party. Great. I don't even know there's going to be girls over there. We weren't all that popular. Probably not. No, not going. Okay, fine. What are we going to do? I don't know what you're going to do. I just know what you're not going to do. What? I feel like as a parent, if you're going to tell me something I can't do, you have an innate responsibility to open the door to something else. And my dad didn't feel that pressure. He's like, no, you're not going to go. What, do you want to go be a dad as a teenager? What, is there going to be alcohol? I'm like, I hope. I mean, no. No. Here's my point. I have this deep down knee-jerk issue with authority, even though I don't really mind rules. My wife will tell you, ask her. She's got this thing that if she ever snaps at me, like for instance, if she's cooking for everybody, there's people coming over, and she's like, don't eat that, and she doesn't say it nice enough, it doesn't process. I don't have to think about it. It's not like I'm like, Instantly, she's like, don't eat that. I'm like, she will tell you that she knows, don't touch that. I'm not proud of it. There's just something deep down in there that I feel claustrophobic. It's like a panic. It's like, remember when you were wrestling with friends when you were younger and you get held under the water and it's kind of like, and then it changes to like, it's in me. It is in me with authority that I feel like authority, if I'm not careful, authority feels restrictive and claustrophobic. And so my whole life I've had an issue with it, just telling you. And then you go to 2020 and here's where I'm seeing all that develop. When I was a kid, if you wanted the information, you had to go find a book and you had to go like alphabetize. Like there's some folks in here that remember what an encyclopedia was. Not anymore. Anymore, you all the information in the world, it's available right there at our fingertips. And so now what's happened is the same, like, don't touch that. You can't tell me what to do. When someone goes, well, it's been proven. The information has been proven. Now we can go, by who? We've got all the information, and with all the information, truth is starting to get really hard to find because we're swimming in this sea of information, and everybody likes to be on top. Everybody likes the authority. Everybody likes to go, well, actually, whether you admit that you like it or not, it's just part of being human. We don't like someone having control. And when somebody has a higher truth than our truth, then we try to one-up their truth. These are the facts. Facts according to who? Who won the election? We got a lot of information, but we're arguing not about the information, we're arguing about the truth. It used to be that you would go after information to form your opinion. You would travel into information and you would go, what is the information so that I can know how to feel? That is not the case anymore, is it? Now, we try to find information that secures our bias. We start with a thought and we want to prove that thought and we go seeking out the information that will prove that we're right. We don't form our opinion according to the information. We look for information that secures our opinion. What that means is this, is that over time, we gradually all move into becoming our own authority. We are our own authority. And we go, oh, I would never claim that. Bear with me, it's going to be a long sermon. If truth is relative, then it's no longer truth. That's the joy of truth. That's what the word teaches about the truth, is the truth is the truth is the truth. It's not insecure. It's not swayable. Like there are times where we think that everything can be manipulated, but if it can be manipulated, it wasn't truth in the first place. Even that is contested because why? We don't want anybody having a superior position over us. Now, that's section 1. Here's section 2. That's our mindset. Then when we go to the word and we find something there that is insulting or off-putting or something that we don't understand, we are already predisposed to questioning everything. Well, these are the facts. Whose facts? Well, did you verify those facts? Well, we can reject anything based on our bias. And so there are times we go to the word and we don't question what's in there. We don't question what it says. We don't question necessarily right or wrong. Here's what we do. We're already predisposed. We go to the Bible, but then we question its authority. Here's what I mean by that. The gun argument right now, I'm not getting political, don't jump ahead of me, but the gun argument is the right to bear arms. Which arms? Muskets? Cannons? See what I mean? We know the information, but under what authority? And we go to the word and we read something and we go, yeah, but that was a long time ago. But today, we've evolved. Maybe that's not what it meant. I get, maybe that was see what we're doing? We're taking the word and we are putting it just under our own feelings. If you think this is going to be a sermon about rule enforcement, take a deep breath. It's not. I promise it's not. It's about where does the Bible land when you and the Bible disagree? Where do we go with that? See, it's not the context, it's not the translation, it's the authority. Matthew chapter 1, verse 23, the Pharisees come to Jesus, the elders, they approach Jesus, and Jesus is teaching, and they don't go, that's not what it says. That's not what's in there. That's not in there, because Jesus knew the scripture. They didn't say, you're teaching it wrong. They didn't say, well, that's not true. Because if they said, that's not true, Jesus would go, well, it's right there, and that's the same book you're teaching out of. They come to Jesus, and they go, by what authority are you teaching these things? See, because if he was teaching from a position of authority, then what he was saying had to be submitted to. And they go, I don't know if you know this or not, but we're kind of the... Who gave you this authority? This is a mind bender that we would miss. If God is God, and I'm going to go deeper into this, so if you don't catch it all right now, it's okay. We're going to circle back. But imagine that God is the source of authority. He wasn't granted authority. He didn't win an election. You didn't give it to him. You can't take it away from him. If God is the ultimate authority, then it's laughable to think that they looked at the face of God and go, who gave you that authority? Who's above you? Answer to us. What? That means that as people, we are capable of going to God and going, God, you're going to need to explain this. Because I see a lot of suffering. I see a lot of wars being waged in the name of religion. And I got to tell you, God, I'm just not into all that. So if you could just get over here from it. They're going, whose authority? See, they're not questioning what he was teaching. They were questioning his authority. And they're saying, you need to answer to us. When someone says, you need to answer to us, they're placing themselves right above Jesus. Now, if God is infinitely up, they're going, okay, but who's above you? And God's like, funny question. Funny you should ask. I wasn't given this. In fact, truth emanates from me into the universe. Authority begins and ends with me. It's all within me. So it's not like it was outside and I captured it. If it exists from me into the world. So the concept of who gave it to you is almost laughable that you need to answer to us. I know it's confusing. It'll clear up. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Genesis chapter 1. There was a period in the Bible where God and people without sin were interacting. Adam and Eve were living in a garden separate from sin. There was no sin, and you get a glimpse. If you go, well, what would it look like? What would it look like to fully submit to God's perfect will? Where does that go? There is a place in the Bible where God's perfect will was completely on display, and we can read it. Ready? Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. Y'all keeping up? That was part of their instructions of how to live. You guys are kind of acting a little prude this morning. Do I need to explain what we're reading? In a perfect world, in a perfect God, in perfect relationship with people, God's like, you're not going to believe this. You want to know what one of your jobs is? Okay, we're going to be uptight. That's fine. That's cool. Can you imagine being Adam and you're like, rules is rules, honey. Fill the earth and subdue it. The entire garden was under their control. That means from within the authority of God, the garden was created and then given as a free gift to people, and it was given under their authority. He says, subdue it, rule over it, adventure it, get out in the world, see what's out there. Let's go start living life. It's all here for you. That's what God's ultimate authority, apart from sin. I want you to live. I want you to be alive. I want you to adventure. I want you to go see things and do things. Subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. God's going, I, within my authority, am giving you authority. See, that's what people need. If we're going to have authority, someone has to give it to us. It's got to come from somewhere. This is the part. It says, then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and to all the birds in the sky, and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And so it was. I want to point out an important detail. God said, every plant in the garden is beautiful and edible. Go crazy. Enjoy. I'm so excited to see what this is all going to turn into. It's all for you. It's beautiful. It's edible. Ready, set, go. I'm going to explain why that's important. Because when you fast forward to the temptation of Eve, listen to how Eve justifies sin. Listen to how quickly Eve is able to justify stealing for herself authority out from under God. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Genesis chapter 3, verse 6. The temptation has been laid out in front of her, and she says, when the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, the tree wasn't even special. You know, when we talk about the Garden of Eden, it's like the garden, the tree. There was nothing special about it. It was literally just another tree in a list of amazing trees. There's one difference. Is that the whole garden was under her authority. The tree was under God's authority. And she did what people do when we think that God's authority is something that we want. Brandon Grindle said it was like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, and I haven't seen the movie, but apparently he walks in and goes, hey, make yourself at home, just don't do a few things. Similar, I guess, I assume. If you've seen it, I guess. Brandon, good job. There was one thing that drove Eve to the tree. One thing. It was one thing. And that one thing that drew Eve in her temptation to the tree, that one thing was authority. She thought, if we've got it this good under God's authority, maybe it could be better if it was all under my authority. Now remember, we're not talking about rule enforcement, because this idea that God somehow set rules in place was like, you better not. He's given us an indication of what is the best existence. Adam and Eve's life didn't get better after sin, did it? Thanks a lot. But I'll tell you this, knowing people, if it hadn't been her, is going to be one of us. What if I'm missing out on something better? So let's go back to the Pharisees. They said, by what authority are you doing these things? And who gave you this authority? See, here's what's interesting. They were the authority. So if it was just literally Eve going, I'm just curious what else is out there. I'm just curious what else is available. If it was just simply your curiosity in moments where you're like, I know God said not to do that, but is it really bad? I know that you guys are kind of the holy service of the weekend, so I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But sometimes people know they're not supposed to do something, and they still want to. Not you guys. But people can go, I know I shouldn't, but... And we start to question, but why is it wrong? That's the problem. That is where it goes from a struggle into a submission is, well, why is it wrong, God? You're going to need to explain to me why that's wrong. And what's funny is the Pharisees go, under what authority? They weren't curious. They weren't curious to go, I wonder what would happen if we submitted to God's authority, because they were already in control. It wasn't a curiosity issue. It was a control issue. They go, we can't risk giving up control or ultimate say in our lives, because what if it gets worse? See, wasn't that the lie? The serpent said, you'll be like God. See, that's when you boil it all down. Our rejection of God's authority is that we will be on an equal playing field with God. You would never say that, but when you go, I know what God said, but what about what I say? We have two choices. We get to either accept the sovereignty and the authority of God, or we get to reject it. But we don't get to do both. We either admit that God is the ultimate authority and is who he says he is, or that he's not. It's one or the other. It is one of the very few light switch situations. I was talking to a good friend of mine about this point, and yesterday, this point that I'm about to make, and he goes, man, I don't know. I don't know if I would say that. So here we go. I was raised in the South and in our youth groups, and let me tell you something that happens prevalently in youth groups in the South, is that there's this thought that we'll get as close to sinning as we can get because that's actually what we really actually want, but we're going to do a Christian version of it so we get heaven too. I didn't say that. I said frick. There's an R, so it's different. Let me tell you something I hate. I hate when somebody desperately wants to live in sin and they're too scared to do it. If you want to go live your own life and reject God's authority and do whatever you want to do, quit being such a sissy and just do it. Quit being such a baby and just admit who holds your heart and at least go enjoy that part of it, because this idea of like, no. Oh, here's one. I was a youth pastor for a while. Here's one. Ready? Okay. Teenagers. Okay, like, what base can you get to with your boyfriend or girlfriend before it's like, now, I know for this super holy group of people that you are, I'll need to explain this to you. This is a very common thing of like, what can I get away with? Like, quit being such a sissy. If you want to disobey, just do it and quit being a baby about it. At least you're being honest. That's one thing I at least respect about Adam and Eve, is they at least had the guts to do what they wanted to do instead of pretending to be both. I'm not telling you to go sin. I'm saying if that's your deepest heart desire, quit being a sissy, go do it. But if you don't want to do it, then let's start leaning into that. Let's decide who holds the authority in our lives. I'll give you some more examples just because I'm in the mood. I don't want to go to church. Then don't. I have a problem with church. Stay home. That makes it real easy. You don't have a problem with church, home on the couch, doing whatever you want to do. It's not like I'm going to come knock on your door and be like, you're going to need to. Well, I'll tell you what. This is my favorite. I'll tell you what. Here's why I don't give. It doesn't matter what you follow it with. You've just said, I don't give. I don't care. If you don't want to be someone who gives for any myriad of reasons, then don't. But quit expecting that you get to call yourself, well, I'm a generous guy, but here's why I don't give. No, you're not. You're neither. Quit being such a chicken. Quit being such a baby. Don't be a sissy. Be who you want to be, but stop pretending to be both. Here's one. Spouses. You know, when I watched The Bachelor, I just realized like the romance of my marriage is gone. Cheat. I'm not saying it's right, but can we at least be honest about where your heart actually lies? Can we at least be honest about who you really are, but you don't want to admit? Can you please just admit the truth about what God is saying is that you're not operating under the authority of God. You're wanting the benefits of sin, but you don't want to give up the benefits of being called a Christian. It is the most highest form of hypocrisy to claim to be both. That's why God says, I wish you were hot or cold. God's like, well, you're not in, but you're not even enjoying being out. I feel like I'm just robbed. I've been making all these good choices and things aren't going well. Then stop. The reason you started making good choices is you obviously weren't happy making bad choices, so at least be honest. I mean, I realize it's a gutsy thing to say, But you can't argue with me. It is true. Like, whoever holds the authority in your heart, at least be honest about it. Oh, this is my favorite one. I hate this job. I'm going to quit. Oh, I'm going to quit. Then quit. Quit being such a baby and quit. You want to quit your job? Quit your job. You're like, well, I would, but I can't afford it. Oh, I think we just stepped in a trap. You want the benefits of being employed, but you don't want the effort of contributing. How many people, oh, I would quit God if I could. I just can't afford to. Man, I want to go to hell. As though that's what God's like, you better follow the rules or you're going to go to hell. Oh, man, I'd be so much happier. Go for it. Go for it. You're making the rest of us look bad. Because, listen, I'm not saying that I'm perfect. You guys know me well enough to know. But the difference is, I have things in my life that I struggle with that I have to go to God with and go, God, why am I this way? I don't want to be this way. Your word says this, and my heart says this, and I don't like the difference. And God goes, that's why I named you people Israel, because we wrestle through a lot of stuff. You're not just going to automatically want to do the right thing all the time. There's going to be a discipline. There's going to be a battle and a struggling and a wrestling. And God goes, that's fine, as long as you are aware of the fact that in my authority, everything I've requested for you is better for you. I feel like I'm going to get quoted this week. God says it's for freedom that you've been set free. And this idea of pretending to follow the rules so that you can get all the reward of following the rules, but living like God's going, you're not free. All right, let me get to my favorite part of the sermon. Job goes through 20 times 100. Like, he loses everything in his health and all this stuff. Go read the story of Job. Here's the most beautiful part of the story of Job. You would expect after the year that Job has experienced, or the time, whatever the time period was, that God would show up and be like, you made it. Good job, buddy. I was really concerned, but you did it. You didn't have to deserve that, and that wasn't fair. Good job. You would expect that in 2020, God would show up and go, hey, the church is doing really good. You guys are doing amazing. Yeah, God, it was real hard. But, you did, so. God shows up to Job, and Job is like panting, covered in scrapes. I made it. And God shows up and says this, ready? Then the Lord spoke to Job. This is verse 38. If you're going to read anything in the Bible this week, read Job 38 and 41 through 41. Because sometimes God doesn't operate within the range of the authority that we grant. Is this a good point or what? Then we go, God, you're the authority in my life between this point and this point. As long as you're doing it like the way I want, you're in control. And like, that's Job. God went like way over there. And so God shows up and Job's like, where were you on that one? God says this. Then the Lord spoke to Job. Who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? Oh, I'm sorry. Who is this questioning me? Job's like, brace yourself like a man, and I will question you, and you will answer me. Here is God demonstrating not what I would have predicted. I wouldn't have predicted that this is how God was going to interact. I would have expected that God's going to show up and, hey, buddy, you were right all along. He shows up and goes, Job, you've never been right. You've never at one time in your entire life been fully right because you're not God. Listen to this. Listen to this. Ready? Job is sitting there, and he's kind of got his feelings hurt, and God says, where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? He doesn't stop there. Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its footings set? Who laid its cornerstones? God's going real quick. Stop here for a second, Job. Where were you when I speak and things were created? And then it goes into intimate, loving details about creation, where the deer live and how long their pregnancies last and where the lightning is stored and who holds the nature and who's walked the depths of the ocean. And all of a sudden what you realize is this. God is demonstrating to Job a love and a passion for creation. And God's going, this was all created for you guys. And I am on a mission to restore it. And you guys keep messing it up. But let me remind you that I'm a God that you don't understand. I'm a God that goes beyond what you cannot comprehend. Where is the snow stored? Where is the lightning stored? Who's walked the depths of the earth? Who tells the ocean where to stop? Who speaks and the stars turn and worship? Where's the power, Job? What power? Because if you don't want to, Job, here's what God said. Job, if you don't want to operate under my authority, and this is all that I possess, what's left for you? If you want to be in control, if you want to operate under your own authority, if you want to question me, please understand you're exposed and you have no power, because everything that you hear, everything that you see, everything that you feel worships me. And apart from my authority, you have no place to exist. He continues, this is chapter 40. The Lord says to Job, will the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? He goes, Job, are you going to correct me? In all of your human wisdom and all of your human frustration, are you going to correct me and tell me that I was wrong? Me who's created everything? Are you going to tell me that I'm wrong as I'm going around the earth trying to redeem humanity back to myself, and the fact that I've created and I intimately know the hairs on your head, the hairs on everyone's head, it's not like I'm distant. He talks about how much he loves everything that he sees. He goes, you going to correct me? Will the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? Let him who accuses God answer him. Then Job answers. It is not what it sounds like, and I'll explain it when I'm done. Listen, I am unworthy. How can I reply to you? This is Job. How can I reply to you? I put my hand over my mouth. I spoke once, but I have no answer. I spoke twice, and I'll say no more. After God begins to explain the authority of who God is, Job goes, I'm sorry, I can't even remember what my problems were. God shows up, and Job goes, don't stop. Don't leave. Take everything. I don't care. I was cut off from the authority of God, and it's actually the authority of God that saved me. It was the authority of God that brought me back in. Everything that I lost had been given to me anyway. I didn't own it. I didn't have a right to it. I got lost in my own authority. Don't leave. I won't say anything else. Keep going. See, because we talk about the authority of God as though it's rules and you're separate and you better do this or you better do that. And God goes, you don't understand. It's my authority on your behalf. I'm a God that you can't understand. I'm a God that you can't comprehend, but I'm on your side. Then the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm, and it says, would you discredit my justice? Would you condemn me to justify yourself? Job goes, under what authority am I suffering? And God goes, under what authority do you question me? God, I've lost things that I can't imagine a solution to. And God goes, I'm a God you can't imagine. I don't operate within time. I don't operate within this universe. Everything I say, everything I do, I operate at a dimension you can't understand. So why do you think that I have to bring solutions that make sense to you? And Job realizes it and goes, never mind. I don't even remember what my problems were. I didn't know this is who you were. Do you have an arm like God's? Can your voice thunder like his? Then adorn yourself with the glory and splendor and clothe yourself in honor and majesty. God isn't flexing about how great he is. He's comforting Job with how great he is. He's going, Job, don't worry. I'm God. I've got it when you don't even understand what it means. I've got you covered. I've got a plan. I'm doing things that you don't have to understand. Don't worry. I'm not insecure. See, because that's just it. God's authority isn't an opinion about the truth. God's authority is synonymous with truth. God speaks and truth forms to his words. Do you see the difference? He doesn't describe truth. He speaks truth. It's less about the rule enforcement. It's more about the truth of his identity. And if you say no to his authority, if you get to a place where, well, I just don't understand, whose authority are you appealing to in that moment? Where you go, God, I don't want your authority. You want your own? Okay. I mean, that's exactly what God's trying to describe. Is like, trust me, that's not what you want. If you knew the truth about me, you would never want your own opinion. Here's what's so interesting to me, is the centurion, when he comes to Jesus, he was this highly elevated person. It says he had people over him, but there weren't many. And he had a lot of people below him. And he comes to Jesus, and he goes, I'm not appealing to my own authority here. I don't deserve to have you come to me. I'm operating under your authority. I'm operating under a blanket of your authority, Jesus. He doesn't come and go, Jesus, here's why you owe it to me. Because that's what we do. Jesus, I've been really good this month. He's not Santa. I've been really good, so you owe it to me. Because that's what the idea, I'm not going to go too far down this road. That's the idea of Santa. I was good. You work for me now, sucker. He goes to Jesus and he goes, I'm out of this, but I've got a guy, whatever power I have, I'm surrendering. I've got a guy that has no power. It says it was his servant. And he goes, I'm appealing to your authority on behalf of somebody that's below my authority. See, that's what authority looks like. It's not enforcement. It's not rule enforcement. You better so that I can be more powerful. God goes, I'm not going to get any more powerful than I already am. I'm God. He's not insecure. He's not like, please, come on. He's going, please. On behalf of yourself and your family and the generations that are going to follow you, trust that my authority is not something to get around, Jordan. I'm not God who doesn't want you to go to parties. I'm a God who can open doors that you couldn't open for yourself. But if you want to operate under your own authority, that's a battle you can't win. Jesus heard this and he was amazed, and he told those following him, truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with such a great faith. There's a verse in Matthew 23 where Jesus is looking over Jerusalem. He says, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. This is Jesus, and he's going, how long have I wanted to gather you under my wings like a hen to her chicks, but you would not. What's he saying? He's going, I've got all authority on heaven and earth, and I'm offering it to you. I'm inviting you in. But just like Eve, the only thing that attracts us to sin is the thought that maybe our own authority would supersede his authority in our lives. I guess that's a prayer that I have for us as a church, is that we start to sense God's authority in the way that Job did. That's like, why would I ever question you? What do you have to benefit by restricting my life? I am the only one who wins when I obey. Can I say that one more time? That when I obey against my own will, I am the only one who benefits from that. God doesn't become any more or any less God. God's able to use my life in his authority in ways that I couldn't have imagined. And keep in mind, when the garden happened before sin, his idea was that we get to be in control and rule and be in authority under him in a position of freedom. What is it that we're so concerned about obeying him? What is it that who taught us that? And it's because we view authority from a position of claustrophobia. Because why? Because why? We are still discovering the nature of Jesus. We're still on a journey to discover the nature of Jesus that gives freedom and opens doors, doesn't restrict, and causes us to become less of what we were. Let's pray. Lord, I want to be clear. I'm not encouraging sin. But God, the clarity comes when we decide, are we living for you because it's our heart's desire to follow you? Or are we too afraid to quit our job because we don't think we can afford it? God, where does the authority in our life lie? Just like Job, it was like everybody was patting him on the back for surviving it. But what you saw was that he was indignant from a position of authority. God, he didn't need to be told how good he was. God, Job, in the middle of his struggles, in the middle of being broken and desperate, he needed to know how good you were. Because God, it's your goodness, it's your authority that puts things into place, solutions that we couldn't understand from a God that we can't grasp. God, help us to lean into the sovereignty and the power and the authority of who you are and the freedom and the life that brings to us. I pray in Jesus' name, amen.